Hi again then guys, and for those who don't know, I like to do top 10 countdowns of the best of stuff in Gran Turismo every so often. Most powerful, highest top speed, most expensive, lowest weight, that kind of stuff. And due to the update nature of the game, we will often see new cars added which jump around on the lists. They get added in, maybe really high or somewhere around the middle, sometimes low, and occasionally bump other cars off of the list. And on this occasion we have not only a newcomer, but a very significant car that's been bumped off of the list because the Red Bull is gone. How many top 10 lists would you have that bump a Red Bull off of it because it's not good enough? That's pretty crazy. It shows how ultra lightweight all of the cars on this list are. And in fact, they're so lightweight that all 10 of these vehicles weigh no more than 600 kilos. That is some seriously lightweight territory. In fact, 50 kilos less than the Red Bull now, even at the start, in 10th place. And incidentally, one of the other changes that you could technically count is that the Red Bull, which is now in 11th place, you could say, is on par between the X2014 Standard and the new one, the X2019 Competition, because they weigh exactly the same. But that's by the by, let's get into the list. So first of all, in 10th place is the Daihatsu at exactly 600 kilos. The very expensive and not exactly worrying to any other Vision GT, the RJ Copen VGT car. It's pleasant, but it's expensive at 1 million credits. It is light though, £1,323 is nothing to be sniffed at. Then next up we have the Alfa, the TZ2. I love this car. One of the most expensive cars here. It's a high roller for sure, but one of the least powerful high rollers. It more than makes up for the lack of power though, with low weight and fantastic cornering ability, and it's not really too surprising given that it only weighs 576 kilos, which is under 1,300 pounds. Next up we have the Mini. Of course, you're never going to have a lightest of anything list without a Mini being on there somewhere. 556 kilos is another 20 kilos less of course than the Alfa, but in a car that's a whole lot cheaper than the Alfa. And £1,226 is very, very healthy, and this is easily one of the most nutty cars on the entire list in terms of just how good it can be compared to the pretty modest numbers that it's got to work with. Next up though, we move up into much more serious territory, a full-on race car, albeit a fictional series one, the Red Bull. Because Red Bull is not entirely gone, but it's the Junior. How many lists are there out there where a Junior is better than one of the full-on X cars at anything? And yet this one beats the X2019 in two ways. It's lighter, and kind of crazily, the top speed's higher as well, over 200 miles per hour. Only 550 kilos though, which is of course what's relevant to this list, 1,213 pounds. Then next up, drum roll please, we have the newcomer, the new kid on the block, the Toyota Sports 800. Super lightweight, 545 kilos, a fraction over 1,200 pounds. That's a serious contender to burst onto the scene and be so high on the list. That's very impressive. Next up though, we have, of course, a serious contender, one of the fastest cars on the list, the F1500TA Formula car, 540 kilos, just under 1,200 pounds. It's the first car on the list, of course, to break under the 1,200 pound barrier. Then, leading on from that, we have a Fiat 500, because that's just the kind of list that it is. 488 kilos is super, super lightweight, and it makes a huge jump from a car that breaks 1,200 pounds to a car that goes well under 1,100 pounds. 1076 is super, super lightweight. But of course, don't put it up against a Formula car, you won't win. Not without like a 2-day head start. Next up then we have in third place, one of my favourite Vision GTs, the Chaparral 2X. Not only is it one of the lightest cars here, it's also one of the most powerful, and for acceleration, it's actually one of the best cars in the whole game. I haven't officially tested it, but it would not at all surprise me if it's actually the second fastest accelerating car in the game behind the Tomahawk. It's that fast. Unfortunately, top speed lets it down a little bit, but what doesn't let it down is a 450 kilo curb weight. That's crazy light. 992 pounds, and of course, the first car on the list to break 1,000. Then in second place, of course, we have still the runner-up, the Honda Project 2 and 4, and technically you could call this the lightest car in the game, because those of you who have watched my other previous to this updated lightest vehicles list will already know what's in number 1, but this is super light, 405 kilos, not surprising for a car that uses bike tech, 893 pounds, and of course last but definitely not least, by far the lightest vehicle, at least in Gran Turismo, the 105 kilo racing kart. Just 231 pounds. It's small, it's fast, it's fun. Is it a car? Who cares? It's in the game, and as such, it counts. So that's it for the updated top 10 lightest vehicles in GT Sport list, with the Red Bull being knocked out and the Toyota Sports 800 jumping in. So, doubtless we'll have to update it again in the future. Well, depending on the cars that come to the game, that is. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.